Look like Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu has broken their silence about this massacre their team just had.
The result was pure gold, as the reigning champs were completely destroyed on their home court. After losing by 14 points, Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart took the microphone. And rather than offering justifications, they took an action that stunned everyone. Their candid evaluation of Caitlin Clark's performance eliminated any possibility of disagreement regarding the league's leadership. Did you find the Liberty Stars' graciousness during the loss surprising, or do you believe they were simply acting politically correct after receiving education?
The performance we saw from Caitlin Clark today against a team that started off the season 9-0, a team that is the defending champions, might have been the greatest women's basketball performance we have ever seen. That might have been the greatest showing from a WNBA player we have ever witnessed. That was spectacular. The shots she hit in this game, y'all, were something like I've never seen any other women basketball player ever come close to hitting. There are NBA superstars out there that I have not seen have a game with that.
Setting the environment is important when you're watching greatness get recognized by other brilliance. The New York Liberty entered the game as the reigning champions, comfortably atop the standings, perhaps believing they could defeat a hot team that had been having trouble without their best player. Rather, they received a basketball tutorial so comprehensive that they were awarded a diploma. Caitlin Clark showed everyone why she is the most significant player in professional basketball right away after returning from a 5-game injury absence. She had 32 points, 7 assists, and enough highlight reel moments to fill a Netflix documentary. Here's the kicker, though. After being thoroughly outclassed by Clark and the Fever, Sabrina and Breanna Stewart refused to back down or make excuses. What transpired was that Clark received the roses she was due.
Like we go on runs, they do as well. They're a great team. So I don't think it's defeating. I think obviously we know what a great shooter she is, and I think we just gave her too many easy ones. Obviously, she has great range, and her ability to get her shot off is really impressive, especially with missing some games. And so obviously on a personal level, I'm really happy to see her back out on the court, healthy, feeling good, because obviously it's important for them. But
after missing several games, Clark was questioned about his performance. Without hesitation, Sabrina gave credit where credit was due. She recognized Clark's shooting range and, more significantly, her ability to make a shot in spite of defensive pressure. That goes beyond simply being courteous. That's spotting great talent when you see it, even if it just made you seem foolish on national TV. However, Sabrina went above and beyond simply praising Clark's abilities. She conveyed her sincere joy at having him return to the court in good health. Personally, I'm thrilled to see her back on the court in excellent health and spirits because, while it's obviously important for them, I'm also glad to see her again. Making such a claim about someone you view as merely another adversary is not appropriate. That shows appreciation for a player you think is unique. Sabrina's admission that they gave Clark too many easy ones was the most significant aspect of her remarks. Consider that for a moment. One of the greatest shooters in WNBA history is saying this. Recognizing that Clark has such exceptional shot-making skills that even somewhat open looks become automatic makes because Sabrina is experienced at hitting threes from unachievable distances, you pay attention when she says someone has excellent range. Claps, although Breanna Stewart took a different tack, her method was just as respectful. Stewart, one of the league's most successful players who has won MVP honors and championships, could have easily diverted attention from Clark's performance by concentrating on officiating or team breakdowns, but instead she accepted the fact that they were outplayed by a superior team that night. Throughout the game, Stewart's body language spoke for itself. Stewart was watching from a distance to defend her when Clark hit that logo three. Stewart appeared to enjoy the shot and grinned instead of displaying annoyance or rage. That's the response of someone who realizes they just saw something extraordinary, even if it meant their team suffered a setback.
And we had our moments. We got back into the game. We had that run when Stewie was guarding Caitlin Clark, but then they executed well. And, we had so many breakdowns on defense, and they made shots. They really punished us on that end, making, 17 threes from 35. It was just too wide open. So
Stewart mentioned defensive failures that were caused by Clark's gravitational pull on opposition defenses, not by accident. The way teams must defend is drastically altered when a single player can pull up from anywhere past half court and make it appear regular. The Liberty were forced to try to protect Clark without leaving anyone else vulnerable, and they were utterly unsuccessful. The background of the rivalry that media outlets have attempted to create between Clark and other WNBA players is what makes her post-game remarks even more noteworthy. Rather than contributing to fabricated drama or disparaging Clark's accomplishments, Ionescu and Stewart chose to be forthright and provide candid evaluations of what they saw. Even the most biased spectator cannot dispute the story that the game's numbers tell. The Fever's three-point shooting percent was ridiculous. With Clark at the forefront and her colleagues reaping the rewards of the attention she garnered, professional shooters are more likely to make their shots when defenses are too preoccupied with preventing one player. The psychological effect Clark has on opposition teams is demonstrated by Stewart's admission that they exhausted their players in an attempt to keep up with the Fever's offensive outburst. Rushing shots and defensive lapses resulted from the Liberty feeling under pressure to match the Fever's scoring output. It goes beyond basketball. That is one player controlling the entire game flow. The coach's point of view gave this narrative an additional depth. Sandy Brondello didn't justify poor officiating or missing players. The Fever performed better and made their shots when it counted, she said. You can tell a performance was genuine and outstanding when coaches at the championship level give credit to rival teams without reservation. The Liberty's defensive stats from this game are especially terrible. They let up 102 points, 53 of which came in the first half, to a club that had been having offensive difficulties without Clark. It's more than just bad defense. The ability of one player to skew opposing game plans results in a total systemic breakdown. It was fascinating when Sabrina said that basketball was a game of runs, since it recognized that the Fever's dominance wasn't due to a lucky break or a strong shooting night. She acknowledged that Indiana successfully carried out their strategy and upheld their level of intensity during the match that's recognizing consistent achievement instead of fleeting luck. The shooting discrepancy reveals the game's whole plot. While the Liberty only made 20% of their three-point attempts, the Fever made 17 of them. It's not luck. When one team's best player commands so much defensive attention that everyone else becomes more dangerous, that's what happens. Stewart's analysis of the team's resiliency was instructive since it demonstrated the psychological toll this loss took on them. Although the Liberty takes satisfaction in competing at the championship level, they acknowledged that they found it difficult to keep up with Clark's speed and execution. The transition game statistics from this meeting were especially harsh for the Liberty, which speaks something about Clark's importance when the reigning champs talk about having to face themselves after losing to a club that was written off without their hero. In contrast to their recent difficulties in that area, the Fever produced 19 quick break possibilities. Clark's ability to quicken the pace and provide scoring opportunities before defenses can set up is directly responsible for that. Stewart acknowledged this by pointing out how challenging it got for them to build their half-court offense and obtain stops. The fact that Ionescu acknowledged their offensive difficulties when they were unable to transition shows how much Clark's presence interfered with their entire strategy. The Liberty's identity was based on defensive stops that created offensive possibilities, but when the other team scores goals at will, the entire system fails, and Clark's performance wasn't enough to defeat them. She destroyed their idea of a team. The discrepancy in free throws during this game made the Liberty's injuries worse. They were unable to match the Fever's offensive effectiveness even though they received more foul calls. Stewart's admission that they didn't reach the rim sufficiently illustrates how driving lanes were harder to locate and take advantage of because of Clark's presence on the perimeter. The Liberty tried several defensive strategies to slow down Clark, but each one failed. They tried zone coverage, tried to completely deny her the ball, and changed everything. This made the coaching adjustments conversation more fascinating. Nothing was successful. When coaching staffs at the championship level run out of things to say about a particular player, that player has moved beyond the realm of basketball. because they implied that this defeat made them reevaluate their position in the league hierarchy. The stewards' remarks regarding team identity and knowing who we are were telling. The Liberty came into this game as the league's defending champions, but they left wondering if, with everyone healthy, they really are the best team. These post-game emotions gain additional depth from the global viewpoint. Stewart and Ionescu have both played international basketball for their nations and are familiar with the highest levels of competitive basketball. Because it comes from athletes who have faced the best in the world and are aware of greatness when they see it, their assessment of Clark's talent has greater weight. Something that distinguishes excellent shooters from great scorers was brought to light by Sabrina's explicit reference to Clark's ability to make her shot. When the game is on the line, it's not only about making open shots, it's also about creating and making shots under pressure with defenders all over you. Throughout the game, Clark repeatedly displayed that ability. The defensive communication breakdowns Stewart mentioned were not the product of chance. Rather, they were caused by Clark's mobility and decision-making, which forced defenders to make snap decisions that frequently turned out to be incorrect. Even championship-level teams begin to appear unimpressive when a single player can routinely put 5 defenders in difficult positions. The conversation about the pace of play showed how Clark's comeback completely altered the game's rhythm. The Liberty are accustomed to setting the pace and directing how games are played, but Clark's arrival compelled them to adopt an up-tempo style that benefited Indiana's players and strategy. Professional appreciation for Clark's influence on game flow is demonstrated by Stewart's recognition of this. Making shots wasn't the only aspect of the shooting performance that earned this recognition. It concerned choosing shots and making decisions under duress. Even despite making very challenging attempts, Clark constantly made the perfect strokes at the proper times. Ionescu's acknowledgement of this demonstrates an awareness of the distinctions between genuinely exceptional players and merely competent ones. Clark's return instantly restored the Fever's offensive identity, making the team chemistry topic pertinent. After struggling to create rhythm without her, the players appeared at ease and self-assured. Stewart's insight regarding execution recognized that this was more than just individual genius. One player was greatly improving everyone around them. The Liberty's attempt to put Clark under defensive pressure failed dramatically since it gave her teammates more opportunities. Stewart's acknowledgement that he let up too many open ones demonstrated how Clark's stature as a scorer gives her advantages that go much beyond her own. The post-game interview's examination of the game plan demonstrated how well the Fever had prepared for this battle. They targeted particular Liberty flaws and took advantage of defensive inclinations that winning teams typically conceal well. For the court to implement these strategic advantages, Clark's vision and judgment were essential. After Clark found her rhythm, the game's momentum changes all appeared to favor Indiana. Stewart's recognition of the fact that Clark could generate offense from anywhere on the court demonstrated professional respect for a player who has the ability to alter game results on his own, even when the Liberty made runs. Beyond simply scoring goals, Clark's 7 assists demonstrated her capacity to improve teammates' performances, demonstrating her statistical domination. Ionescu's appreciation of Clark's full game demonstrated an awareness that winning is influenced by more than just individual scoring for genuinely great players. For Stewart and Ionescu, the championship significance of this defeat were not forgotten. They admit that when Clark is healthy, losing to the Fever alters the debate over which club is truly the greatest in the NBA. The defending champions don't make such a casual admission. These post-game remarks demonstrate a level of respect that goes beyond simple business etiquette. Both athletes acknowledge that the performance they had seen demonstrated to everyone why Clark is regarded as a generational talent. They demonstrated the kind of sportsmanship that improves the entire league by being prepared to give credit where credit is due. You know something exceptional happened when the reigning champions publicly congratulated the player who just embarrassed them. Ionescu and Stewart might have offered an explanation, but instead they gave Clark the attention she deserved for her outstanding performance. How did you feel about their elegant reaction to being outplayed? Press the like button. Please leave a comment below and subscribe for more insightful WNBA analysis.